Good evening and thanks for joining us on the news at 7 on NC International. I'm Elizabeth Omori. Now a look at the headlines. Federal government to construct a 1,000 bed capacity isolation center in the Federal Capital Territory. Day 1 of total lockdown in Lagos, Abuja and Ogun. No full compliance. Niger Armed Forces record successes in ongoing operations Calm Waters. Thank you so much for joining us. The Niger Center for Disease Control has announced 4 new cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria, 3 in Osun and 1 in Ogun. As at 11:15 a.m. 31st of March, there are 135 confirmed cases of COVID-19 reported in Nigeria with 2 deaths. Meanwhile, the global coronavirus cases as at the moment is put at 787,438. Total deaths 37,846, 160,935 patients have recovered. The global active cases stand at 583,657. Still on containment, the federal government is to immediately construct a 1,000 bed capacity isolation center in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, to be made to withstand the rising spread of coronavirus pandemic. Minister of Health Dr. Saigi Ihanire disclosed this at a media briefing by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. It said NCDC is currently tracking more than 5,000 contacts suspected to have COVID-19.
Abuja, as already said, is directly linked to their function as gateways for international air travel. The incidence of new cases into Nigeria as a result of the closure of the airports and also the land borders will reduce the number of importations, so that we shall be dealing largely with those which have already been brought into the country and are being infected and are being transmitted from person to person.
Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 and Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, appealed to Nigerians to respect the restriction order imposed on the FCT, Lagos and Ogun states during the 2 weeks lockdown.
Lockdown is to prevent community spread, which may be dangerous to manage. It can only be done by Nigerians and for Nigerians. So we would want to use this medium to implore our people and plead with them to please respect and honor restrictions that have been imposed for the good of our people and our nation.
Meanwhile, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has described questioning the legality of the presidential order restricting movements in the FCT, Lagos and Ogun states as unnecessary, explaining that the action taken is not only important but very well backed by extant Nigerian laws. A press release by Laulu Akonde, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity in the Office of the Vice President, describes the steps by the President as proactive, very relevant, important and backed by a Quarantine Act of 1962, published in all the laws of Nigeria. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo said the act allows the President to designate any local area, any part of the country as a place that may be infected or under the threat of a communicable disease and could then make regulations of any kind. The Vice President said the act is a regulation that gives the President powers, and these powers come from the National Assembly, stating that the governors have extensive power under the same Quarantine Act. The 360 members of the House of Representatives have resolved to donate their 2 months' salary to the fight against coronavirus in Nigeria. Speaker House of Representatives Swemik Bajabiamila says, starting from March salary, the donation will be directly transferred to the National Relief Fund account to support provisions for the welfare of frontline medical professionals, health workers and other interventions for the well-being of all Nigerians through this trying period. He commended President Muhammad Buhari for the ongoing efforts of the federal government to manage the outbreak and alleviate its diverse economic and social impact on Nigerians, and pledges support to House members of these efforts. The Speaker also applauded the sacrifices made by all doctors, nurses and other medical personnel who spend long hours in the laboratory, hospitals and emergency care units to provide treatment and comfort to the sick. The House called on the Central Bank of Nigeria to, as part of response measures, direct cash grants to the 774 local governments in the country towards providing food and other essentials to at-risk individuals and communities. It urged governors of states that have no confirmed case of the disease to prepare adequately. The Speaker urged Nigerians to follow the guidelines of the Niger Center for Disease Control, describing the pandemic as a war, saying the mission is first to survive and overcome. Still on containment of COVID-19, the body of permanent secretaries headed by the head of civil service of the Federation in its effort to help the federal government fight and curb the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic has donated items to be used for personal and home hygiene. The head of service, Dr. Folashade Yemi Eson, during the presentation said permanent secretaries distributed a large chunk of their salaries to gather items for the cleaning of the body, clothes and homes. He noted that the items were chosen because healthy hygiene is important in the fight against the pandemic. The items to be distributed to the vulnerable in the society include 100 cartons of bar soaps, 100 cartons of Dettol antiseptic soaps, 80 cartons of Dettol disinfectants, and 100 cartons of Ariel and Sunshine washing powders. The items have been handed over to the federal government through the chairman of the COVID-19 Presidential Task Force, Boss Mustafa. The chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 commended the gesture and commitment of the body in affairs of government. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, who took charge of the items, promised that the items would get to the targeted beneficiaries. Lugbe Airport Road is one of the routes which serves as entry and exit points to the Federal Capital Territory. Adebola Brooklyn Sande monitored the lockdown compliance level on that axis.
This is the ever-busy Lugbe Airport Road, but the lockdown has given way to a quietness that is very rare. Only few filling stations are open to customers. Ali Amodu is a manager of one of them.
We've been open since 7 a.m. The challenge we are having is that the attendants cannot pass through the security men to get to work. Yeah, we are arranging for a vehicle to be picking them and then taking them back home so that we can effectively serve our customers.
If not for here now that I came that they sell fuel for me, I know how much I paid yesterday before I could be able to get just one jerry can.
Most of the residents are adhering to the lockdown order but wants to be more informed.
We trek from our house to the filling station. It's like 40 minutes to get the fuel so that we can on our generator and know what is happening in the world.
Our camera lens caught few private and commercial vehicles plying the road. During the lockdown, the people are expected to only leave their homes in search of essential items like food, water and medicine, while observing the preventive measures as stipulated by the World Health Organization. Adebola, Brooklyn Sunday, NTA News.
Still on the lockdown, Federal Capital Territory Administration has established mechanism to cater to the vulnerable groups in the territory. During the 2 weeks lockdown of the nation's capital, the Minister Mohammed Musa Bello disclosed this at a media briefing after the Stakeholders Security Committee meeting on the presidential lockdown measure against COVID-19. Shuaibu Onozo Yakubu tells us more.
City Minister Mohammed Musa Bello explained that the administration, in partnership with relevant federal government agencies, will cater for the vulnerable persons through the palliative measures. The FCT Palliative Committee will be headed by the FCT Minister of State, Ramatu Tijani Aliu, to be supported by the Area Council Chairman, traditional and religious leaders, as well as non-governmental organizations.
We in the FCT are going to implement Mr. President's directive 100%, and all organs of the FCT security services and other government agencies have agreed and worked out modalities to ensure that all entry and exit points of the city are manned by relevant officials.
Heads of security agencies and top management staff of FCTA, as well as other stakeholders, attended the security committee meeting. Shuaibu Onozo Yakubu, NTA News.
The World Health Organization says attention has shifted to epicenters in Western Europe and North America, while the pandemic is far from over in Asia and the Pacific. Joyce Ometo brings us details on Global News.
World leaders have now continued to roll out robust measures to halt the spread and to contain the coronavirus pandemic, which has claimed scores of lives. The novel coronavirus has infected more than 800,000 people and killed over 39,000 worldwide. Nearly 175,000 have recovered. Now, this is according to the count by Johns Hopkins University. The United States has the most confirmed cases globally. More than 3,000 people have died in the U.S. New York City is the worst hit with over 1,200 confirmed fatalities. President Trump has said the next 30 days could be crucial in the fight to stop the spread of the virus. Africa now has a number of 47 countries affected with over 5,000 confirmed cases, 172 deaths and nearly 400 recoveries. Botswana on Monday reported its index cases after 3 people tested positive. The country's president, Mogwetsi Masisi, has declared a state of emergency for 28 days to curb the spread of the coronavirus. Botswana was among the few African countries to yet report coronavirus cases. Others include Lesotho, Comoros, Sierra Leone, South Sudan, Burundi, Sao Tome and Principe. Meanwhile, the former president of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Jacques Opango, has died in Paris from complications related to coronavirus. He was 81 years old and his family said he had been ill before contracting the virus. And Tanzania's health ministry has announced the country's first death from coronavirus. The country has confirmed 18 cases to date, including 1 recovered patient. And South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has launched a mass screening program for coronavirus. The president said 10,000 field workers will be visiting homes to screen people, and those found with symptoms would be quarantined either in their homes or in hospitals. South Africa has nearly 1,400 cases of COVID-19. There are signs of hope in Europe as infection rates fall in Italy and Spain, but the death toll remains high for now. The lockdown in Italy has been extended to Easter. Spain, the worst-hit country in Europe after Italy, has recorded 849 new deaths related to coronavirus, the highest number in 24 hours in the country since the outbreak began. The total number of people infected has surpassed China. The national death toll is now above 8,000. And the World Health Organization is warning that the pandemic is far from over in Asia. It is urging governments to prepare for mass infections and warns of a renewed crisis in countries where the situation is beginning to appear to be under control. And India is reporting a spike in infection as the huge difficulties of locking down a country of 1.3 billion people continue. And that's today's global update on COVID-19. Stay with us for more as events unfold. I am Joyce Umetu.
Thank you, Joyce. You're still watching the news on NC International, reaching you live from Abuja. Let's take a breather now. More reports ahead when we return.
Naija, your love guests.
I do believe in love at first sight.
I just think it's not possible.
You know, as a man, you're moved by what you see.
My love at first sight is a mental connection.
Personally, don't want someone really shorter than I am.
Guys really don't pick up on things like that sometimes, and I'm guys.
My goal, is to find love.
I just like them average, light skin.
My move button is just showing me too much love.
You might be the most beautiful woman in the world, but if your nails are not straight and clean, I ain't doing with you.
Bad breath, bad odors of any kind.
I'm the mumu naturally, so...
I'll be gone. I'll be a mumu for life.
I love attention, maybe food.
I want to try again.
If a woman is like my heaven, like she gives me peace, I'm good.
I was at the point of getting married, or my dad didn't approve of the relationship.
Put me my man.
I want someone that's a little bit taller than I am and muscular.
I think you actually have to know a person to a certain degree before you say you're in love with them.
Thank you so much for staying with us. The Buhari Media Organization has commended the Buhari-led federal government for its resolve to continue with the school feeding program, even as COVID-19 has forced the closure of schools in the country. A statement by the organization notes that the homegrown school feeding program is one of the 4 components of the country's national social investment programs. The media group called on all those who would be involved in taking the foodstuff to the households to operate within the Buhari principles of accountability, honesty, transparency, and involving the citizens in government policies developed to enhance their welfare. More than 8.5 million pupils in over 50,000 primary schools were served food meals daily to boost their nutritional intake and make concentration and learning more conducive. And Abike Dabiri, Chairman, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, has commended the Diaspora Support Initiative in respect of eradicating COVID-19 in Nigeria, describing it as a caring and kind gesture. In a statement in Abuja by Abdurrahman Balogun, Head of Media and Public Relations Unit, the NITCOM boss said the initiative of the diaspora towards containing the disease is commendable. Abike Dabiri said NITCOM is proud to be associated with the initiative Get Towards supporting those affected with the dreaded virus in Nigeria, as well as assisting the country in the fight against COVID-19. Adding that NITCOM will supervise and coordinate funds raised by the coordinators and promoters, as the funds will be strictly used for procurement of needed materials and equipment. They also intend to purchase the life support machines for respiratory conditions called ventilators. The group will arrange testing for 5,000 to 10,000 high-risk individuals of all ages, including, most especially, the above 60s, those with underlying medical condition, and these materials and identification of those people to be tested will cut across the most affected states in the Federation. In ensuring inclusion for all to have access to sensitization on hygiene against the spread of the coronavirus pandemic, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development has taken a campaign to persons living with disabilities in Karimajiji community. Ruth Agwele has details.
For residents of Karimajiji community here in the FCD, it is one of those days that keeps hope alive. This visit by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development to the camp of persons living with disabilities is part of walking the talk on the sensitization campaign and efforts towards ensuring that no one is left behind in containing the spread of the deadly coronavirus. The Minister, Sadia Umar Farouk, who was represented by the Director of Rehabilitation of the Ministry, emphasized continuous support protection and empowerment of persons living with disabilities.
The ministry has swung into action to ensure that our brothers and sisters and children who are living with disabilities will receive significant attention and care. We raise the number of qualified beneficiaries with special needs who will receive government support.
For the residents of the camp, this gesture will go a long way in safeguarding their lives against the deadly COVID-19.
We will make sure that our people will wash hands like in 20 minutes time all the time. We will also tell them to use the mask.
As the sensitization continues, prevention, the ministry believes, should be top priority. In Abuja, Ruth Aguele, NT News.
In outer security, the Armed Forces of Nigeria says it has recorded successes in the ongoing operations Calm Waters in swift response coordinated by Nigerian Navy. A statement released by Acting Director Defense Media Operations Brigadier General Bernard Onyeko notes that the successes recorded within the week include arrests and seizures of foreign parboiled rice. The further operation base Ibaka anti-smuggling team and that of the Nigerian Navy ship Victory intercepted more than 800 bags of 50 kg rice suspected to be smuggled from Cameroon and arrested suspects in a medium-sized boat in separate operations. Other items recovered include an outboard engine and pumping machines. Meanwhile, following the cancellation of Exercise Obangame Express 2020, which was scheduled to hold from 21st to 26th of March 2020, due to the global spread of COVID-19 pandemic, in its place, Exercise Treasure Guard 2 was reactivated on the 21st of March 2020 with the same objective. A total of 6 ships, namely Nigerian Navy ships Thunder and Dorina, among others, participated in the exercise, confirming the ability of the AFN to plan and organize regional exercises similar to Exercise Obangame Express. The Armed Forces of Nigeria says it has destroyed another logistics base of Boko Haram terrorists at Ngoshe in the fringes of Sambisa Forest, Borno State. A statement by Acting Director Defense Media Operations Brigadier General Bernard Onyeko explained that this was achieved on the 30th of March 2020 in an air raid conducted by the air component of Operation Lafia Dole in a subsidiary operation Decisive Edge. The airstrikes were conducted following credible intelligence reports indicating existence of some structures within the settlements used by the terrorists to store their arms and other logistics items. Accordingly, Nigerian military fighter jets were dispatched to attack the location, recording accurate hits on targets, leading to the destruction of the base as well as the neutralization of some Boko Haram fighters. Let's now talk sports. Despite the postponement of the National Sports Festival and the Tokyo 2020 Olympics due to the outbreak of coronavirus, the Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Diary, says the ministry is in touch with the athletes on the preparations for the Olympics. Gift George has details.
Despite the postponement of the National Sports Festival and the Tokyo 2020 Olympics due to the outbreak of coronavirus, Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dare, said the ministry is very much in touch with each of the athletes. He disclosed measures the ministry is adopting to monitor performance of Nigerian athletes.
To have a database, to know what their plans are, to know what support they need. The Adopt an Athlete plan that we have, the funds are going to them. So we're happy that those funds can help them at this period when some of them cannot even make money from competitions.
The minister added that the country will stick to 11 sports as earlier agreed, and that funds have been released for pending qualifiers, which those athletes can go for as soon as the spread of the virus is stemmed. In continuation of the fight against the coronavirus, the federal government recently approved for the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development to open and make available the stadiums in Lagos, Ibadan, Abuja, and Kaduna for use as isolation centers for COVID-19. This action was described by Nigerians as a right step in the right direction.
A welcome idea. Most of the stadiums in the country to be used for isolation center.
National Stadium is a very important place to use to be a center.
In a related development, a medical practitioner, Dr. Ade Damola Dada, he emphasized the need for good personal hygiene and isolation.
Preventive instructions. Wash your hands as much as possible. Every opportunity you have, you use it to wash your hands. Use of